Delta Force. Nobody knows you are in Delta. Your neighbors think you work a desk job at Fort Liberty. Your extended family has a vague understanding that you do something military. The cover story is rehearsed and consistent and boring enough that nobody asks follow-up questions. You were selected from the Army, Rangers, Special Forces, sometimes conventional infantry, through a process so classified that the Department of Defense has never officially acknowledged the unit's existence while simultaneously funding it at a level that makes it the best equipped ground force on the planet. The selection course is modeled on the British SAS program, long-distance land navigation carrying heavy loads across the Appalachian Mountains alone against a time standard that is never revealed to you. You either meet it or you don't. Most don't. Inside the compound at Fort Liberty, rank is irrelevant. First names, call signs. The culture is flat, professional, and extraordinarily good at controlled violence. You operate in 4 to 6 man teams. The missions are direct action, hostage rescue, high-value target raids, operations where the margin for error is measured in seconds, and the consequence of failure is strategic. Your equipment is a generation ahead of anything in the conventional military. Weapons that don't have public designations. Optics that turn darkness into detail. You have trained with this gear so long that it is no longer gear. It is anatomy. The mission brief arrives. Location classified. Target classified. Timeline: 36 hours. A compound, 2 floors. Unknown number of armed men. 1 hostage. You breach, clear, and reach the hostage in under 4 minutes. Nobody outside the compound will ever know how close it came to going wrong. Nobody outside a classified briefing will ever know it happened at all. That is the job. The silence is not a consequence of the work. It is the work. Navy SEALs. The water is 58 degrees, and you have been in it for 25 minutes. Your hands are not fully functional. You do not need your hands for this part. You need your fins, your rebreather, and the discipline to stay at depth for another 15 minutes without surfacing. You are a SEAL. Sea, air, land. And you earned the title through basic underwater demolition / SEAL training at Coronado, California. Bud/S is 6 months. Hell Week is 5.5 days of continuous physical evolution on no sleep. Approximately 75 to 80% of each class does not complete training. You survived because you decided that the pain was temporary, and the alternative, quitting, was permanent. You deploy as part of a platoon, typically 16 operators subdivided into squads. Your mission set is broad: direct action, special reconnaissance, hydrographic reconnaissance, the secret mapping of beaches and harbors before an amphibious landing, the original UDT mission from World War II that evolved into modern SEAL operations. Tonight, you are conducting a subsurface approach to a coastal target. The rebreather produces no bubbles, nothing breaks the surface. You close to 10 meters from the pier, surface in the shadow of a piling, and wait. You listen. The guard changes. You move. The trident on your chest, the special warfare insignia, the Budweiser, means you belong to a community of approximately 2,500 active duty operators who do this work in every ocean and on every continent. Nobody will write a book about tonight. No film, just the water, the dark, and the objective. The SEAL teams, currently numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, and 10, deploy on a rotational cycle that keeps platoons in constant motion between training, deployment, and recovery. The pace since September 11th, 2001 has been relentless. Some SEALs have deployed 10, 12, 15 times. The operational tempo has produced extraordinary tactical capability and extraordinary damage to marriages, to bodies, to minds that have processed more violence than the human system was designed to absorb. Night Stalkers. There's no landing zone. There's a rooftop that measures 40 feet across, bordered by power lines, in a city that does not know you are coming. You land on it anyway. You are a Night Stalker. a pilot or crew member of the 161st Special Operations Aviation Regiment, headquartered at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. The 161st exists for one purpose: to deliver and extract every other unit on this list. Delta, DEVGRU, Rangers, Green Berets, none of them reach the objective without you. You fly MH-60M Blackhawks, MH-47G Chinooks, and AH/MH-6M Little Birds. The aircraft are modified beyond recognition from their conventional variants, baffled rotors for reduced acoustic signature, terrain following radar, FLIR, defensive countermeasures, performance upgrades that are classified. You fly at night, at low altitude, in weather that grounds commercial aviation, wearing quad-tube night vision goggles that give you depth perception in total darkness. The standard is plus or minus 30 seconds. You arrive at the objective within 30 seconds of the planned time, every time, because the assault force is synchronizing its movement to your arrival, and 31 seconds late means the breach happens without air cover. You flew the Abbottabad raid. You flew the Mogadishu raid. You flew the first insertion into Afghanistan in October 2001. Tonight, you are flying a Delta element into a valley in blackout conditions. No lights, no radio emissions. Terrain clearance measured in feet. You put them on the X. You pull back to a holding orbit and wait, because when they call for extract, you need to be close. Night Stalkers don't quit. It is the unit motto. It is also what happened when a helicopter went down in Mogadishu in 1993, and the Night Stalkers flew back into the fire to get their people out. Green Berets, you have been in this province for 4 months. You speak enough Pashto to negotiate, enough to insult someone accurately, and enough to know when the translator is editing what the elder actually said. You are a Green Beret, MOS 18 series, assigned to one of 5 active duty special forces groups, each aligned to a geographic region of the world. Your unit's a 12-man operational detachment Alpha, the smallest and most autonomous combat formation in the American military. Every man on the team carries at least 2 specialities: weapons, engineering, communications, or medicine. Your 18D medic has performed surgery by headlamp in a compound with no running water. Your 18E-com sergeant has bounced a satellite signal off the ionosphere from a valley that doesn't appear on most maps. The mission is unconventional warfare. The original Special Forces mission since President Kennedy authorized the Green Beret in 1961. You do not fight the war. You build the force that fights the war. You recruit, train, equip, and advise indigenous fighters until they can conduct operations without you. Tonight, the partner force you spent 3 months training is executing its first independent raid. You are 200 meters back, monitoring the radio, watching through a thermal optic, ready to intervene, but hoping you won't have to. They clear the compound in 6 minutes, 1 correction over the radio. Otherwise, it's their operation. You will never receive credit for this. The partner force will. That is the design. The Green Beret's job is to make himself unnecessary, to build a capability that persists after he leaves. The 12 men on your ODA just shifted the security balance of an entire district, and nobody outside a classified briefing will ever know. De oppresso liber, to free the oppressed. It's not a slogan. It's an operational methodology. 75th Ranger Regiment. It is 0300, and you are standing in the door of a C-17 at 800 feet above an airfield that belongs to someone else. In 11 minutes, it will belong to you. You are a Ranger, one of approximately 3,500 soldiers in the 75th Ranger Regiment, the Army's premier direct action raid force. The Rangers do not advise. They do not build partner forces. They do not negotiate with elders. They seize objectives through overwhelming violence of action and then hold them until conventional forces arrive. The regiment maintains 3 infantry battalions, a special troops battalion, and a military intelligence battalion, all on a deployment rotation that keeps at least 1 battalion ready to deploy anywhere on Earth within 18 hours. You passed RASP, the Ranger Assessment and Selection Program. 8 weeks at Fort Moore, Georgia, with a 50% attrition rate. You survived Ranger School. 62 days across the mountains of Dahlonega, the swamps of Florida, and the woods of Fort Moore on 4 hours of sleep and 1,500 calories a day. By week 3, men in your class were hallucinating. By week 5, they had stopped caring about anything except the man in front of them. Tonight is an airfield seizure. You have rehearsed this operation so many times that your body executes the sequence before your conscious mind engages. Static line, door, canopy, ground, release weapon, move. You cover 800 meters at a run. The airfield is secure in 12 minutes. When the C-130s carrying the follow-on force land 40 minutes later, the hard part is already done. Rangers lead the way. It is the regiment's motto. It is also a literal description of its tactical function. The Rangers take the door down. Everyone else walks through it. Marine Raiders. You are a Marine Raider. MARSOC was activated on February 24, 2006, the newest component of U.S. Special Operations Command and the Marine Corps' first dedicated contribution to SOCOM. You passed the assessment and selection course, 3 weeks at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, designed to determine whether you will quit under sustained physical, mental, and emotional pressure. Most candidates quit. You continued because the Marine Corps trained you to continue before MARSOC ever selected you. You deploy in 14-man teams called Marine Special Operations Teams. Your mission set includes direct action, special reconnaissance, and foreign internal defense. Training partner forces in places the Marine Corps does not publicly discuss. You have operated in the Philippines, Somalia, Syria, Mali, and locations that remain classified. Tonight, a partner force you have been training for 6 months is executing a compound assault that you helped plan. You're in the support position, watching through night vision, monitoring the radio, available to intervene but determined not to. They execute the assault. Near perfect. One timing error on the breach. You note it. You will correct it tomorrow. The Marine Raiders trace their name to World War II, the 1st and 2nd Raider battalions that conducted guerrilla operations across the Pacific. The modern version carries encrypted communications and thermal optics. The instinct is the same. Arrive by sea, operate in small teams, leave the area more capable of defending itself than you found it. Approximately 3,500 personnel, the smallest component of SOCOM. The culture is Marine Corps to the core, which means the standards are high, the complaints are constant, and the work gets done regardless. The Raiders do not seek recognition. The Marine Corps does not encourage it. The work is the work, and the work is making other people's militaries capable of fighting their own wars so that Marines do not have to fight those wars for them. DEVGRU. You were a SEAL for 5 years before you were eligible to try out for this. DEVGRU, formerly SEAL Team 6. The Naval Special Warfare Development Group, recruits exclusively from the SEAL teams, and the screening process is designed to find operators who function under the specific kind of pressure that Tier 1 operations produce. Situations where the intelligence is incomplete, the timeline is collapsing, the political stakes are national, and the decision you make in the next 3 seconds determines whether the mission succeeds or produces a congressional inquiry. You operate in assault teams of 8 to 16 operators organized into color-coded squadrons, red, blue, gold, silver. The missions mirror Delta's hostage rescue, high-value target elimination, the operations that appear in presidential daily briefs. On May 2nd, 2011, DEVGRU operators conducted Operation Neptune Spear, the raid in Abbottabad, Pakistan, that killed Osama bin Laden. The mission made DEVGRU the most famous special operations unit on Earth, while the unit itself remained officially unacknowledged. The contradiction defines the organization. You train at a facility in Dam Neck, Virginia, that the Navy does not discuss. The selection course, Green Team, takes 6 to 8 months and eliminates approximately 50% of candidates who are already among the most experienced SEALs in the fleet. The men who fail Green Team are not inadequate. They are simply not the specific type of operator that DEVGRU requires, the type who makes correct decisions faster than conscious thought allows, under conditions that degrade every human system except the training that has been burned into the nervous system through years of repetition. Tonight's mission's a maritime interdiction, fast roping from a helicopter onto a vessel underway in open ocean, clearing multiple decks in darkness, locating the objective, and extracting before the vessel's course change alerts anyone that something happened. You have rehearsed this scenario hundreds of times. The difference between training and execution is not the technique. It is the knowledge that the people on the other side of the door are not role players. 24th Special Tactics Squadron. You jumped first. You always jump first. You landed in hostile territory alone, in the dark, carrying a 90-pound rucksack full of radios, lasers, batteries, and medical supplies. And your job is to turn a patch of dirt into a functional airfield before the aircraft carrying the assault force arrive. You are a combat controller attached to the 24th Special Tactics Squadron, the Air Force's Tier 1 Special Mission Unit, assigned to Joint Special Operations Command. The 24th STS provides the air-ground integration that makes every other SOF unit on this list more lethal. You are simultaneously an FAA-certified air traffic controller and a Special Operations ground combatant. The combination sounds contradictory. It is not. You control the airspace above the objective while fighting on the ground below it. Right now, you are embedded with a Ranger element that is taking fire from a tree line 300 meters north. You get on the radio. You are talking to an FA-18 at 25,000 feet, feeding coordinates, elevation, wind, marking the target with a laser that is invisible to everyone except the pilot's targeting pod. 9 seconds later, the tree line ceases to exist. The Rangers resume movement. Tech Sergeant John Chapman, a 24th STS combat controller, received the Medal of Honor posthumously for his actions on Takur Ghar in Afghanistan in 2002, fighting alone, wounded, against entrenched enemy positions to protect a rescue force. The 24th STS has been in every major special operation since its activation. They are the connection between the sky and the ground, and without that connection, nothing else works. The unit also includes para-rescue men, PJs, who provide combat trauma care under fire, and special reconnaissance operators who conduct surveillance in denied environments. The 24th is the Air Force's only Tier 1 unit, and its operators serve alongside Delta and DEVGRU on the most sensitive missions the nation conducts. They are the quietest unit on this list, which is saying something. Task Force Orange. You do not look like a soldier. That is the requirement. You have been in this city for 6 weeks. You have a cover identity, a local phone number, a rented apartment, and a pattern of life that the neighbors find unremarkable. You know which cafe the target visits on Tuesday mornings. You know which route he drives. You know which guard rotates at which gate and at what time. You are ISA, the Intelligence Support Activity, also known as Task Force Orange, also known by a designation that has changed multiple times precisely because the previous designation became known. ISA was created in 1981 after the Iran hostage crisis, when the military recognized that it kept launching special operations without adequate intelligence and kept paying the price. You operate in 2 to 4 person teams, deploying weeks or months ahead of the assault force. You conduct signals intelligence, human intelligence, and pattern of life surveillance that produces the target packages that Delta, DEVGRU, and the Rangers use to plan their operations. You map every weakness. You identify every vulnerability. You hand the package off clean and complete. You will never meet the operators who use your intelligence. You will never know exactly what happened in the room. Your contribution is invisible by design. The intelligence that makes the door breachable, the timing predictable, and the risk calculable. The target just arrived at the cafe. You pick up your phone. Somewhere downstream, an assault team is studying a target package that exists because you spent 6 weeks watching, and 6 weeks is not a long time in this job. ISA operators have been described as the most important people in special operations that nobody has ever heard of. The description's accurate. Without ISA, the door kickers are guessing. With ISA, they are executing. The difference between the two is measured in lives. The lives of hostages, the lives of operators, the lives of people who will never know that their survival depended on a man drinking coffee across the street. CIA Special Activities Center, Ground Branch. You left the military. You left JSOC, specifically, Delta, DEVGRU, 24th STS. The Ranger Regimental Reconnaissance Company, one of the Tier 1 units that constitute the most capable combat forces on Earth. And then you joined something else. The CIA's Special Activities Center, Ground Branch. Recruits from the top of the special operations community. The operators who arrive at Ground Branch have typically spent 10 to 15 years in Tier 1 units and have deployed more times than they can accurately count. Ground Branch exists to conduct covert action at the direction of the President under Title 50 authority. Operations that the United States government can plausibly deny. You are not a soldier. You carry no military identification. Your cover is backstopped by the Central Intelligence Agency. If you are captured, the government you serve will deny knowledge of your existence. Ground Branch was the first American element into Afghanistan after September 11, 2001. Arriving weeks before the military, linking up with Northern Alliance commanders, distributing millions of dollars in cash, and calling in the airstrikes that destroyed the Taliban's conventional military capability. They were the first into Iraq. They have operated in countries that have never appeared in the news in connection with American military activity. The work is the far edge of what the United States is willing to do, and the far edge of what it is willing to acknowledge. You operate here because you spent 15 years proving you could be trusted with this level of autonomy, this level of risk, and this level of silence. The silence is permanent. There is no memoir. There is no acknowledgement. There are 141 stars on the memorial wall at Langley, and some of them belong to Ground Branch officers whose names remain classified. You accepted this when you signed the papers. The mission is the mission. The rest is silence.